Kick and chase by Mullen. Kick and chase again by Mullen. It'll be a miracle. Oh, it is a miracle. Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
Hunter's kick is over the sideline for a 40-20.
Yeah, g'day champions and welcome to 40-20 Sports. Today's episode, we're going to be looking at the rest of our round one team lists. Obviously, the boys have had a bit of a run over in Vegas and we've got some scores through for that. But today, we're going to have a look at the remaining games for the round one. Before we do that, we are going to promote our 40-20 Cup League. The league code for that is 122-155. Prizes for that, first, second and third if you enter in that. First prize, 500. Second prize, 250. Third prize is a merch pack with some 40-20 gear. To be eligible for that, you do need to be following us on Instagram or subscribe to us on YouTube. Either one of those would be much appreciated, but you do need to be doing that to be in the running for the cash. Just on that, I think round 10 is the deadline for that. So I think we've got about 600 teams in there. Pretty good odds if you're looking to jump on. But anyway, no more ado, we will get straight into it. For the first game is Thursday, 8 o'clock, will be the Roosters up against the Broncos. Look, the Roosters look pretty ordinary in the trials and the Broncos look very good in the trials, but I'm not sure that the Broncos are as full strength as most people are thinking. I'm not too sure about their squad. I know they look fit, they look like they've got a lot of energy and a lot of speed in their outside backs, but there's just a few question marks for me on how that team has lined up. But anyway, we'll start with the home team, the Roosters. 1-7, they are Tedesco, Daniel Tupou, Mark Nwanganita-Waze, Robert Toya, Dom Young, Sandon Smith and Chad Townsend in the halves. The good one for that is Robert Toya. Bottom dollar gets the starting spot. There was a few questions about him, how he was going to come into this season with the trial against the Knights. He got absolutely towed up by that left edge of the Knights with Bradman Best running at him, but he gets it over the best of them. So lucky he's in there. I'm not sure what's going to happen when Billy Smith comes back, but for now, he's bottom dollar cheapie. We've got to roll with him. Mark Nwanganita-Waze, he is a bit of a headache for mine as well. He looked really good in the second trial against the Knights. Getting a good offload, he sort of was doing like a bit of a Herbie Farnworth, crabbing along the field, getting a couple of tackle busts and that. So he scored quite well in the trial there. I think he's 6% owned, which is still quite high, I think. He is 438k. Just a bit of an unknown. Scored the 64 points in his first game, but yeah, I'm a little bit unsure about Marky Mark. I think there's probably better options there and more safe options. I'll be looking if he brains it in the first 2 or 3 rounds, then we'll look to jump on him, but for now, a no-go. Sandon Smith and Chad Townsend in the halves. Sandon Smith, dual halfback hooker. I think he's a good option in hooker. A little bit turned off by his game, but he did run for over 200 metres in that trial against the Knights, so possibly one to look at the hooker position. The forwards there, Lindsay Collins, Connor Watson, Nafafua White. He comes in for the suspended Spencer Leniu. Angus Crichton, Radley and Nat Butcher in the 13. Docker Clay, Sua Wong, Blake Steep and Foketi is rounding out the interchange. The big one there is Sua Wong moves to the bench. He was very popular owned, 315, 316k, so we get rid of him. If he's coming off the bench, he's probably not that viable. Nafafua White, he's dual front row forward, 2RF. I think he's a great option for the first couple of weeks. Not too sure what's going to happen when Spencer Leniu comes back. If White brains it at front row forward there, I think there's a world where he could stay in that position. Spencer Leniu, predominantly a bench forward. I think he's probably better coming off the bench, being more of a dynamic impact player. So there's probably a world if Nafua White can brain it in the first couple of weeks, he probably keeps that position. So we need to look at that. I think he's probably a safer option than some of these other guys like Sua Wong. He obviously is a bit more cash, but anyway, I think he's a decent option. For the Broncos, the back 7 there, Reece Walsh, Selwyn Cobbo, Dean Mariner, Gahamet Shibasaki lands a centre spot there, Jesse Arthurs, Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds. Look, they look very good in the trials. There's no denying that. Reece Walsh looks as quick as ever. Cobbo looks to have shed some kgs. Gahamet Shibasaki, there's a couple of people thinking maybe he's only there because of Tony Staggs' injury. I think he had that centre spot wrapped up way before Tony Staggs' injury. Look, he's 230k in your CTWs. I think you need to get him in. He looks like he's going to be playing out on that left-hand side, running off Benny Hunt. Had the most try assists of anyone last year. So a good little bit of real estate to be out on there. I think outside him will be Jesse Arthurs on the left-hand side, who's a very good finisher. Now, as is Selwyn Cobbo, no doubt. But I like the look of Jesse Arthurs. I like the look of Shibasaki. Jesse Arthurs, for me, again, hasn't averaged over 40 points for a Supercoach season. But, look, I think he'll get some tries in bunches this year as the Broncos look good. I think CTW is a real shit fight coming down into our cheapies. We seem to always get cheapies somehow in that position, but this year there's just nothing. 341k, he's owned by 25% of people, so people are jumping on him. I think he's a good buy. On to the next game. Onto the forwards. Patrick Carrigan, Payne Haas in the front row with Corey Pakes, Jack Gazewski, Jordan Ricky, and Kobe Hetherington wrap out the back row. Billy Walters, Corey Jensen, Xavier Willison, and Brendan Piakura. Look, Corey Pakes, I probably wouldn't be going there. A lot of people are going to start with him, but I think there is a world where Blake Moser, as soon as he's fit, he probably comes into that number 9 jersey. He is also probably going to share minutes with Billy Walters. What those minutes will look like, I'm very unsure, but I'm not sure that he's the answer. He's 230k. If he bows out, where do you sort of go to from there? So Corey Pakes, I think, is a little bit of an avoid, although I think he could score well the first couple of rounds there. Jack Gazewski, look, trialled really well. He's got previous history where he doesn't have a massive work rate or a massive base, although 14 runs in the trials for only about 60 minutes. So that's very promising stuff from Jack Gazewski. I think that's probably his minutes. Brendan Piakura being on the bench, I think there's no way they're going to give Jordan Ricky a spell. Kobe Hetherington probably gets 60 minutes there. I think he's a good buy. He was sitting at about 40-something points at half-time in that trial. He basically based his way above his scoreline, so he's a good option. Jack Gazewski, I think for 230k, you probably roll the dice. I'll probably be rolling the dice. But yeah, Corey Jensen, Xavier Willison, they'll no doubt, they'll tag out Paddy Carrigan and Payne Haas. I just think Brendan Piakura is there to probably relieve a bit of Kobe Hetherington / Jack Gazewski minutes. So probably don't see Gazewski getting to 80, but I think it's worth rolling the dice to get there. For the next game, the Friday, the early one, that is the West Tigers up against the Knights at Campbelltown. Look, the Tigers are a shell of their first grade side. I think they could be in for a big night if that Knights team gets going, especially that left-hand edge that they've got there. They look very good in the trials when they were full strength. No injuries of note from the Knights, so they're full strength. The Tigers, look, a fair chunk of their spine is missing for this game at least. But anyway, the back seven, Heath Mason, Sunia Taruva, he comes on. He hasn't had a trial, but he comes into the side. Adam Dewey, Solomon Fatape comes out of nowhere. We were hoping Stafford Toa might get that position. Gerald Skelton, Lockie Galvin, and Jerome Luai. Look, there's not a great deal going on here. I think Adam Dewey is a very popular buy. Should get the goal kicking for this game. Whether he gets it when Api Coruscant comes back, that is a different story. Look, I just don't like it with Heath Mason being there at fullback. Also, Talon De Silva is the 9, so I'm not too sure about how that works out with that sort of makeshift spine there that they're going to have for this game. I think Heath Mason's pretty good though. He's got a lot of speed. He's only a short little fella. He's very much like a Jai Gray in his work ethic and his elusiveness. He's very quick off the mark. Built like a brick shithouse for a little fella. I just don't know how many points this team's going to have in them, especially with their back a little bit decimated. Olam's a big one out. Their defence, they lose a lot of defensive prowess with their. Look, I'm probably going to go off Dewey just for the fact that I think everyone's getting a little bit excited about his goal kicking that he might get. How many opportunities is he going to get to have the goal kicks if the team's lining up like this week in, week out, which I'm sure it won't. I know Api Coruscant's coming back for Talon De Silva. But yeah, I probably want to give the Tigers a little bit of a clear stay just for the opening couple of weeks, just to see how they're progressing, adapting to the new spine there. They're also going to have the new spine come in. Then they've got to get used to Jerome Buller coming in and then Api Coruscant. So there's a bit to watch there. For the Haas, Lockie Galvin, look, I think he's going to be as dominant as ever. I don't think Jerome Luai changes his game. Everyone thinks Jerome Luai is going to seem to demand all this ball. I don't think he's going to do it. I think they'll pretty much evenly split. Lockie Galvin just commands the football for a young fella. Jerome Luai, We know how good a player he is, but again, he may just get stuck out on that left-hand edge. He might not roam. He might give Lockie Galvin free range on that right-hand side. Lockie Galvin's an absolute freak for his age, so I probably see a goal opportunity there going on, so it probably gets me to steer clear out of both of them, really. For the forwards, Terrell May, Talon Da Silva, Fanua Pole, Samuela Fainu, Alex Seyfarth and Alex Twal is the 13. For the bench, Tristan Hope, Royce Hunt, Jack Bird and Sione Fainu. The big one, Terrell May, I probably guessed that he was going to play about 55 minutes to 60 minutes a game. Look, that could very well go higher. He played the entire first half of the trial, got up around the 50-60 mark. He's very popular owned. I think you've got to have him, especially with how that side is looking out. Look, Tristan Hope, Royce Hunt, Jack Bird's a smaller body, Sione Fainu. I'm not sure how many people are going to eat into his minutes. Royce Hunt will come on and do a job, but I think for Fanua Pole, he probably only gets 40, 45 minutes. I think they're going to demand big minutes out of Terrell May. If you do not have him in your side, chuck him in. He could base about 60, 70 the way he's going. Talon Da Silva, he's just there for the week, so avoid him. Samuela Fainu, he's a decent option. He should be on the left-hand side running off Jerome Luai this year. Alex Seyfarth is the one that I'm interested in. Now, I wasn't overly keen on Seyfarth until I saw him in the trials. He ran out and he was named the captain. I think that screams out that he's probably going to get he'll get 70, if not 80 minutes. 435k, averaged 44 points last year, but again, in 80 minutes, he went a hell of a lot higher than that. 11% ownership, I think that's probably a little bit down for what he is, 435. I know people want to see how the Tigers are going throughout the year before they jump onto some of these blokes, as am I, with more predominantly their backs. But Alex Seyfarth, I think he'll tackle the house down, run the house down, so I think he's a more safer option for that West Tigers side. That is about the end of them. For the Knights, they are pretty much as we expected, 1 to 17. Kalen Ponga at the fullback, James Shillett, Dane Gagai, Bradman Best, Greg Marju, Fletcher Sharp in the 6, and Jack Cogger. Look, the left-hand side really intrigues me. They went down the right-hand side a lot last year, which is where Schiller's edge would be and Dane Gagai's edge will be, but I think this year it's all about the left. Greg Marju, tick over 500k, coming off a very disappointing year last year. His base is 40, so I don't see how he's going to go any worse. The attacking opportunities will come, especially how they're using Kalen Ponga along with Fletcher Sharp, it looks like this year. Ponga was coming into the 6 and firing balls out to Fletcher Sharp, who was predominantly, at some stages, playing a fullback role. So that may be a little bit easier transition for Fletcher Sharp in attack. I think there's still question marks over him defensively. I think also the likes of Alex Seyfarth running at Fletcher Sharp, I think there's points there for Alex Seyfarth. His stocks will grow. But again, I like the look of the Knights outside backs for the first couple of games. They've got a good draw. Greg Marju's very cheap. Bradman Best, if he can stay fit, he may grow in stature. Gags, he's always busy. He's always tackle busting. James Schiller on that right-hand edge. He'll be running at Gerald Skelton. That could be an uptick for Gerald Skelton, to be honest. He's a big body. He may run over the top of James Schiller. Jack Cogger, look, he's reasonably cheap. I wouldn't be touching him. He could get changed in and out at the drop of a hat. They seem to think that Fletcher Sharp is pretty safe at the 6, but Cogger I wouldn't be touching. For the forwards, Jacob Safidi, Phoenix Crossland, Leo Thompson comes into the side. Dylan Lucas, Kai Pierce-Paul, Tyson Frizzell is the 13 on the bench. Brayley, Hetherington, Brodie Jones, Matt Croker. A little one we saw on the trials that ticketed our eye. I know he's going to the Dogs, but Leo Thompson looked really good. He played some big minutes on the weekend. He got 55 to 60 minutes. The bench there of Brodie Jones, Matt Croker, and Jack Hetherington, none of them are noted for big minutes. I think the same with Jacob Safidi. He got 2 tries on the weekend, or the previous weekend in the trials. I think there could be some big minutes for these forwards from the Knights. One to watch there, nothing set in stone, but have a look at that. Phoenix Crossland, the 9, very popular option. He is dual hooker. Halfback as well. 341k, 34-point average on last season. The thing that I liked about Phoenix Crossland, I thought there was a world where he was going to timeshare with Brayley. Brayley came on, Phoenix went to 13 and gave Tyson Frizzell a spell. So I'm not sure if that's going to be a week-in, week-out thing or that's just something they're trialling. I probably wouldn't risk it by jumping on Crossland to start the season. But again, if he moves into that 13 role, plays 40 minutes at hooker and then another 20 minutes at 13, he could be a decent option. He's one to watch. Dylan Lucas, Kai Paul with that bench. I know Brodie Jones is there, but again, those forwards, they don't take up a lot of minutes. I think there's going to be some decent minutes. I'm expecting Dylan Lucas, Kai Paul to play 80, which is handy. That's about that for that game. For the Friday night game, the late one, the Dolphins up against the Rabbitohs. This one has been moved from Brisbane down to CommBank Stadium. So I don't think it really affects too much. They've had plenty of time to prep for this. I'm sure there would have been stuff in the plan there with all the cyclone things going over in Brisbane. They're very good by the NRL to get on the front foot and move that game down to Sydney. Peter Volandi's doing a wonderful job. Abdu doing a good job there. They're getting on the front foot. You may have seen that the AFL teams, they've just postponed their games. I think good on them. They're getting on the front foot, getting the Dolphins and Rabbits still playing, so well done for that. The backs for the Dolphins. They've got the hammer, Jermaine Asako, Jake Averillo, Herbie Farnworth, Junior Tupu comes in for Bostock, Cody Nikorima and Isaiah Katoa. Look, the best part about this, I think, for the Dolphins is Cody Nikorima and Katoa are in the halves. There was a little bit worrying signs that Averillo was going to get in the halves there. Good for the whole team. Good for the outside backs there that Herbie Farnworth Jake Averillo has got that spot in the centres. And Cody Nikorima is in the 6. I think that's the best thing that could have happened for the Dolphins. That makes their backline a little bit more potent. I just think the Averillo thing, look, you've got to try these things in the trials. I understand that, but Jake Averillo, his best position is centre in my eyes. The hammer, look, his base is just a little bit low for me. I wouldn't be going there. Osako, there's a bit of love for him, but again, not on my radar. Herbie Farnworth. Now, look, the thing that I had going on with my side, which was I wanted a gun CTW in there. I think Garrick is that, if you wanted to run with Garrick, but I had Jacob Carraz in there for all money, and the only bloke that I could sort of picture that has the same sort of game style as Jacob Carraz, huge upside if he scores tries, has a good base, offloads, tackle busts. He was only 40k cheaper. 20k more expensive. I don't know where that comes. Herbie Farnworth was 20k more expensive than Carraz. He is owned by only 4%. He is a super pod. He's got Souths, Knights, Tigers, first 3 games. I think there's points up for grabs there. Coming off an average of 74 points on last season, I just see a massive uptick in him. He had 60 minutes in the trial. The last game, they got thumped by the Titans. Wasn't a good look for them. But still, I think he got about 45 points in 60 minutes. So he had 14 runs. He just goes about his work without being sort of noticeable. I think the commentator said in that game, geez, Herbie's been quiet, and he had 14 runs in 60 minutes. So I like the look of him. I like the fact that he's probably one of the guys, you've got your Val Holmes, you've got your Lomaxes. He's the guy that hasn't had any positional changes, any team changes, any dramas with his off-season. Looks as fit as ever. I just think him at 728, you're paying up, but I think the upside is there. Junior Tupou, I wouldn't be going near him. Bostock is coming in. He's done his MCL. He'll probably come back in the next couple of weeks. The halves there, they're not really Supercoach relevant. The forwards, Daniel Safidi, Jeremy Marshall-King, he comes in. Felice Kafusi starts at the 10. Finifuiaki in the back row with Max Plath and Tom Gilbert. Kurt Donahue, Connolly Lemu, Mark Nichols and Ray Stone. A bit like the Knights here, I think they're a little bit light on in the forwards. I think there's going to be some big minutes there for Daniel Safidi. Connolly Lemu, predominantly a back rower. Whether that means Finifuiaki is going to get the 80 or not, I'm not sure. Tommy Gilbert, really good. He outdid his score in base by the first half in the trial as well. 460k for Tom Gilbert, coming off an injury-riddled seasons, or 2 seasons really. Named captain, which is a big one. I think they're going to ask for a lot of minutes out of him. I think especially with how light on that that interchange is. I think Tom Gilbert's a great option at 460, especially now being named the captain. There was a little bit worried about him and Max Plath, how they would sort of work in with each other. I just think him getting the captaincy means that he's guaranteed for 60 minutes minimum a game, I think. So we'll lock that in. Maxi Plath, dual hooker, second rower. He runs into the second row. Come out and said he really wants to play 80. I'm not sure if he's going to play 80 on an edge. There could be a world where Connolly Lemu, he comes in for Max Plath. Max Plath moves into the lock role when Gilbert has a breather. I just want to see how that rotation moves before I jump on Max Plath. Also moving out to the edge. I'm not exactly sure that that's his best position, but they just want to keep... They obviously think so highly of Tom Gilbert to give him the captaincy role. For the Rabbits, few outs there, few ins though as well, which is surprising. Jai Gray, Isaiah Tass, Jack Whiten and Campbell Graham has returned from his hand injury. Tyrone Munro, Cody Walker has overcome a calf injury, and Jamie Humphries comes in for Lewis Dodd there. Look, I probably wouldn't be jumping on Jamie Humphries. It's a bit up and down. Lewis Dodd could be straight back in that side round 2. If Jamie Humphries does brain it though, he scored 90-odd points, looked unbelievable in the Charity Shield. The Bunnies looked heaps better once he was on, so it could be a bit of point of difference. Jamie Humphries is about 330k there, so one to watch. But again, I wouldn't be starting with him. Cody Walker, he jumps into that side now. I probably wouldn't be going into Cody Walker at the start of the season, although he is 559k. It's very juicy. He's 5'8" halfback duels. 57-point average on last season, which is a little bit down on what we sort of expect from him. He's only 2% owned. I probably think he's 2% owned because of his calf injury. I think he's going to do a lot better than 559k and a 57 average. The only dramas that I've got is that at the moment, there's no... Well, we've got to get used to the fact that there's no Cam Murray, but the fact that there's no Latrell Mitchell there as well, I think hampers his scores a little bit. Latrell Mitchell will barge over from 10 metres out and give Cody Walker a line break assist, try assist. So the base is a little bit low for me, although the price is right for me. I just want to see what happens coming off a calf injury. Those things, they spruce up every now and again. Campbell Graham coming back into the throw. I don't mind it, but I think without trialling, I think I probably want to give him a couple of weeks. He's only 505k, got a massive discount of over 200k on what he was going to start the season last year, so he's a decent option. Pick him up in round 3 if he's killing it, I think. I want to watch him. I want to watch how he goes for the first couple of rounds. He is only 3% ownership. Again, I think that's because of the injuries. The forwards, Sean Kepi, Dave Moali, Peter Momazelis, Keon Kolomatangi, Jai Arrow, and Lachlan Hubner is got the starting role at the 13. Sullivan, Havili, Duncan, and Totola comes out of nowhere to get a starting spot. He wasn't tipped to be right for the first couple of rounds. Decent option at front row forward. Again, we're going to have to see how his minutes go. I think he'll progress into more minutes as the season goes on. Look, Peter Momazelis, I hate Jaden Sullivan there and Savili Havili there. I'm not sure how many minutes they're going to run into him. I think he's still a good option. I think he's the first choice hooker there. But again, I'm just a little bit worried on how many minutes Peter Momazelis is going to get. I thought he was good in the trial. He has a wicked average. He's got a 1.1 point per minute. If he can get 60 minutes, hopefully, I know that drops when they get more minutes, but hopefully he can get around the 50-point average. Has a 60-something point average when he plays over 60-minute games. So Peter Momazelis, decent option, but the bench with Jaden Sullivan there worries me. Obviously, Savili Havili, he probably goes into a forward role rotation there now. But again, I'm a little bit worried about that. Lachlan Hubner, 230k, got the starting spot in the lock position. Look, I'm skeptical on that. For the Charity Shield, Lachlan Hubner was named at 13 and Tallis Duncan came into that squad as the lock forward there. So just watch that. If you do start with Lachlan Hubner, I probably will go there at 230k if he is starting. Have a look at an hour out from team lists. I'll be watching that one like a hawk. For the Saturday game, the first of Saturday games, 5:30, Dogs versus the Dragons. Should be an absolute belter, Sydney Derby. For the Dragons there, the big one is Finau, Sione Finau. He misses out on a spot for Christian Tuipulotu. Clint Gutherson, Feagay, Moses Sully, Val Holmes, Christian Tuipulotu, Kyle Flanagan, and Lachlan Ilias. Look, not a great deal going on there. Val Holmes, he's super expensive and going to a new club. Although they've looked good in the trials, I'd just be waiting to see. Dogs are quite good defensively as well, so I'll be giving that a little bit of time. Kyle Flanagan's looked really good in the trials. I think he is the main ball to player. I think he'll be the main half there, but again, he doesn't have exactly the best history in Supercoach. 403k, he is 4% home, so he's a good little pod. Had an average of only 41 points last year. Look, he looked phenomenal in both trials, so he seems to be getting a lot more ball than what he did last year with Benny Hunt taking up a lot of ball and a lot of try assists there. Maybe Kyle Flanagan gets a portion of those. For the forwards, Toby Couchman, Damien Cook, Emre Gula, Luciano Leilua, Jaden Sewer, and Jack DeBellin in the 13. On the bench, Little, Ryan Couchman, Raymond Fatalamala, and bottom dollar cheapie, Hamish Stewart. Look, Emre Gula, I think, is going to be the man there. I can see him getting 50 minutes a game. Looked really good in the trials, got 50-something points, all in base in the trials. They did have a lot of ball, so he did take a lot of runs. He ran 14 times as well. 14 seems to be the magic number that people are running for last week. But anyway, Emre Gula, I think at 330k, I think he's a decent option. Just looking around there with the forwards, what else is there in that position? If you want a backup front row forward, I know a lot of people are going Terrell May, Payne Haas's, Corey Horsburgh. Emre Gula is the next best thing at 330k. So I see a world. He's break even is 34. I think he's going to shit that in. I reckon he'll get 34 in the first half. I like to look at him as my backup front row forward. I'm a little bit sceptical on Royce Hunt, so Emre Gula will be the guy I will lean on to there. Jack DeBellin at 13, he's dual front row forward 2RF, although I wouldn't be touching him. He will probably go into more of a ball-playing lock position there. Hamish Stewart is bottom dollar. Look, you could go there if you want to, but I honestly would rather have enough in my front row forward than have Hamish Stewart. I think he's going to get about 15 minutes a game. He's going to be like Valmaga was last week. I think he's going to come on. He's going to get that experience in the legs. In saying that, they are light on in their front row forward, so maybe he comes and gets 25, 30 minutes and maybe an option. But again, one to watch. For the doggies, Connor Tracy, Wilson gets there on the wing, Bronson Jerry, Stephen Crichton, Marcello Montoya, Matt Burton, and Sexy Toby Sexton. As predicted, I think there. I think with Carraz being out, Marcello Montoya comes onto that wing spot. Look, Matty Burton, I think, is a decent option there at 5'8". He has got 5'8" only. Will kick goals. Look, I understand that the Dogs last year, they went really, really well with their defensive prowess and all that, but geez, they just, on paper, they don't look fantastic. They've obviously very well coached, very well defensively coached, but again, you just look at this side sometime and you're like, oh, where's the spark? Where's the X factor? I think they're going to really miss Carraz. Marcello Montoya is a fantastic signing from the Warriors this year, but again, I'm not sure how well he will come out of his own end. I think they're going to have to rely a lot on Connor Tracy and Bronson Jerry for their tough carries. I'm a little bit worried about the Dogs. I know they're going to run off last year and have their defensive mindset intact for the first couple of rounds. I'm just a little bit worried where their points come from. For the forwards, Max King, Sam Hughes, Reid Marnie in the front row, Viliame Kickout, Jacob Preston, Kurt Mann at the back row, Bailey Howard, Satili Tupanui, Harry Hayes, and Jamin Salmon is the bench rotation. Look, I think this is pretty good for Jacob Preston. Harry Hayes is predominantly an outside back. Whether they're going to transition him into a forward this year, I'm not exactly sure. But again, Satili Tupanua is really the only big body on that bench there. So I think Satili Tupanua is going to have to come in and play in the middles. He's going to take a lot of minutes up from Sam Hughes, Maxi King. Or not a lot of minutes, but I think that's who he'll minute share with. Jamin Salmon, he's a smaller body. He may come on and move into the forwards. I just don't know where they're going to run with their front row forwards, how that rotation's going to work out. I didn't understand it last year. Changed all the time. They seem to put the big boys on and then they let the little fellas work into the game. But Bailey Howard, he should come on for Kurt Mann in the 13. The big omission for me is Curtis Moran. I thought he was fantastic last year for them. I think he should be in that squad somewhere on that bench. But anyway, that's how they're going to run. I think they're going to expect Kickout and Preston to have 80 minutes. So good news for Jacob Preston owners in my eyes. For the second game on the Saturday, 7:35, Sea Eagles up against the Cowboys. Look, 4 Pines, going to be a hard task for the Cowboys. Cowboys look really good in the trials. Sea Eagles look pretty average in the trials, but again, they're missing a lot of players. So for the Sea Eagles, Tobojevic, Saab, Cooler, Garrick, and Lehigh Hopewade comes on for the wing there. Luke Brooks and Daly Cherry Evans in the halves. Stock standard, I think this is pretty much how everyone thought they were going to go. Lehigh Hopewade, there's a little bit going on there with Tommy Talau. Tommy Talau's got a leg injury, a soft tissue injury. So I think Lehigh Hopewade is nearly a definite to keep that spot. $589K though, which is very expensive. Is fullback CTW Jules, 3% ownership, which is quite low, had a 60-point average on last year, which is very good for his first opening couple of games there. But I probably wouldn't be going Lehigh. Ruben Garrick, I'm huge on. I've been huge on him all year. I think there are so many points in that back line. I think the forwards for the Manly Seagulls are very underestimated. They'll lay a platform, and they've got a fair bit of ounce in them as well for scoring abilities. For the forwards there, we have got Taniela Paseka, Jazz Tavaga, he comes into the 9 with Croker being injured. Takeaho, he moves into the forwards. I'm pretty interested in him, actually. We'll get onto him in a second. Hamal Olakawadu, Ben Trebojevic, Jake Trebojevic round out the back row. Jake Simpkin, Corey Waddell, Ethan Bullimore, and Torfafoa Sipley. Now, big talking point here is Taukeiaho. 453k, he is dual 2RF front row forward. Very low ownership of 1% of teams have gone him. He looked fantastic in the trials. Soaked up a lot of minutes. I think they have been missing a big body. They have offloaded Matty Lodge there. Taniela Paseka, he's a very good front row forward, but again, he probably only pumps out 40 to 45 minutes a game. So Torfafoa Sipley is there on the bench. He comes on, he'll probably play 30 minutes, I would imagine. Corey Waddell and Ethan Bullimore. Bullimore was starting at front row forward in the trials, and Corey Waddell doesn't chew up a lot of minutes. Jake Simpkins will come on for Jazz Tavaga at some stage. I think if Taukeiaho can get 40 to 45 minutes, I think we need to have a little look at him, especially being dual there. Hamal Olakawadu, I think he's a good option to start the season, just the way with that Manly Seagulls draw is. I think he's a good option. Ben Trebojevic, I'd probably be steering clear of, and Jakey Trebojevic, again, steering clear of. For the Cowboys, Scotty Drinkwater, Braden Burns, Jackson Purdue, Viliame Valea, Murray Talagi, Tom Dearden, and Thomas Duffy make out the back row there. Awesome news there is Tom Duffy gets the 7. Bottom dollar cheapie. There is little old Jake Clifford there waiting in the wings of the reserves. Had a comment on this asking about, is he a bit of a worry there being on the reserves? I don't think so. I think that shows that he's probably fit and ready to go. He trialled with the team before the round 2 trial. Sorry, still not named. I think he's missed out. I think their man will be Duffy. Duffy's pedigree in Queensland Cup has been pretty noted. 5 tries, 33 try assists. The big one for me, though, is goal kicking by the looks of it as well. The big one for me is the 90% tackle efficiency. I don't think there is a world where Jake Clifford could get that even in Queensland Cup. I know that the stats are a bit skewed. He'll have bigger, stronger men running at him this year if he does continue to get that halfback spot. But 90% efficiency for a half in any sort of competition is really good going. I think that'll probably win him out. Jackson Purdue, 257k. He gets the starting role in the centres there. He's really good. He's looked fantastic on the centres on the left-hand side there. He's just a big, tall string bean bloke, but he finds himself in very good positions. So Jackson Purdue, he is a win. Scotty Drinkwater, I know he trialled really well against the Storm there, but I'm a little bit off him now that he doesn't have the goal-kicking duties. I still think that the Cowboys will probably struggle a little bit this year. They'll be working in a brand new half. Their forwards are a little bit down. They've got some season-ending injuries to some blokes. I'm just not sure about Scotty Drinkwater. I think he'll still average 60, 70 for the year. I just don't think that he's going to be one of the top 3 to 4 players. So I think there's better options out there. Jordan McLean, Reece Robinson, Sam McIntyre moves into the front row. He's a bit of an interesting one. We'll touch on him soon. Johnny Bateman, Jeremiah Nanai, Ruben Cotter make out the rest of the 13. For the interchange, Carl Lawton, Harrison Edwards, Griffin Name, and Cohen Hess. So Carl Lawton, I'm not sure exactly how that works with the 4-forward bench there. I'm not sure how their minutes are all going to work. I think I was reasonably high on Sam McIntyre until I saw that forward rotation there. Griffin Neem front row, Cohen Hess front row, Harrison Edwards is front row as well. Carl Lawton is a back rower / hooker, so I'm not exactly sure how that's all going to work. Reece Robson, he'll play 80. I'm nearly certain of it, even though he is going to the Chookies next year. I'm just not sure how they're all going to work with their minutes. Sam McIntyre, if he is the main man there and does get the minutes, he is 396k. He is dual 2RF front row forward, had an average on last season of 40.5. Is 4% ownership, so maybe people are looking for a bit more value in that position. Again, with the duals, very nice. I'm just a little worried about the 4-forward rotation bench there. If If it comes out Sam McIntyre gets 50 minutes a game, I think he could be an option leading into round 3 before the price rises change. Also, another one is Jason Taumalolo. He is in the wings on the reserves there in jersey number 22. I'm not sure if he gets a run, but anyway, he is one to watch. He could come in and eat some of those minutes again. For the last game of the round, the Sunday game, Storm up against the Eels at 4 o'clock down at Amy Park. Huge news for Parramatta. Mitchell Moses out pretty much indefinitely, I think, with that foot injury. NRL Physio had a little thing there that they said it's nothing showed up on the scans, but it's still showing soreness. So it's a little bit of a worrying situation that they don't know what's going on with that. It could be rest in 2 weeks. It could be something long-term, could be out for 10 weeks sort of thing is what he said. But anyway, I think that massively puts down the Parramatta Eels stocks. We'll get onto them in a second. We'll touch on the Melbourne Storm to start with. Ryan Pappenhausen, Will Warwick, Jack Howarth, Nick Meaney, Xavier Coates, Cam Munster and Jerome Hughes. Again, this is all taken with a bit of a grain of salt because they have the round 2 bye. Although going off Dylan Brown a bit more, he sort of struggled a little bit without Mitchell Moses. That being there indefinitely, he doesn't have Clint Gutherson out the back. He's got Isaiah Yongi. Not too sure about how he's going to go this year. The forwards are all over the shop from last year. It's basically a new team that he's sort of trying to work with. I'm just a little bit unsure about him now. I think Cam Munster at 600k is probably the play. I think for my 5/8s, I did unfortunately start there with Metcalf for the opening round. But Cam Munster, coming off a 62-point average on last season, he is 16% owned. I think people are just going to take the round 2 bye and go from there. 609k. I think you never see Munster at that sort of price start to start the season. Another one there, Jack Howarth. He's very popular. I think he's a guy that I'm probably going to sit on and see how he goes in the upcoming weeks. We've got until round 4 to pick him up until he has a price rise. Just want to see how he goes. Was really good at the back end of last season, but again, a lot can change. He's more there as a defensive centre, I believe, but he does have attacking upside in him. Jerome Hughes, he comes back without trialling. He'll be in there, and Ryan Pappenhausen also in there without trialling, although I don't think it really matters for those guys. They'll be well prepped. The forwards, Stefano Utoikamanu, he grabs the starting spot there. Harry Grant, Josh King, Sean Blore, Elias Katoa and Trent Liero round up the 13. Tyron Wishart makes the bench with Alec McDonald, Tui Kamakamitha and Lazarus Vailepu. Vailepu, he's very cheap front row forward, 230k. Wouldn't be touching him. Not with Alec McDonald and Tui Kamakamitha. They are both front row forwards. They'll be, so along with Vailepu, I just think that Utoikamanu probably plays decent minutes. Josh King is known for playing decent minutes. Just don't think Vailepu, the opportunity is going to be there for him. Look, again, I like all these guys. I think they're fantastic. I think Katoa is going to play a part. Harry Grant will obviously play a part in the season. Jerome Hughes, Cam Munster, Pappenhausen, even if he starts to fire. I just want to see how they all go. I think Cam Munster, I'm going to lock him in at 600k just with the news with Mitchell Moses out and Dill Brown having a bit of a down year without him. Although Ronald Volkman, very good replacement, still he's not Mitchell Moses. So I'm going to run Cam Munster, I think, as my 5/8, and I'll just take the fact that he's got the round 2 bye. The rest of them, you know, I probably don't want to start too many others in there in my team there for the round 2 bye. Just want to keep on top of that. For Parramatta, Isaiah Yongi is the fullback. Sean Russell, Will Penasini, Zach Lomax is named in the centres as we expected. Jake Targo comes onto the wing. Dill Brown and Ronald Volkman come into the 7. Jake Targo is reasonably cheap there as far as the CTW cheapies go. He is about 280k. I wouldn't be touching him. There was games there he scored a try in 3 games and didn't go over 40, so I wouldn't be touching him. He has a very low base. Even if he does sniff out a try, he still can lose some cash. Isaiah Yongi, I've tossed and turned whether to have him in my side. I think the word that Mitch Moses is out for an indefinite period of time is going to turn me off him. I think I'm going to get rid of him. I'll probably run 2 cheapy hookers and go with the 3-gun fullback system, I think. I'll do a little team reveal probably later today on Wednesday. If not, it'll be Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. But again, Isaiah Yongi, I don't think I can go there if Mitchell Moses is out. Ronald Volkman, he's a decent player, but again, I'm just not sure on him. I'm just not sure on the Parramatta Eels in general. Volkman's not even in the Supercoach files here. I'm trying to find him up. He's not even there, so I can't even tell you how much money he is worth. Is he an option? I don't think he's an option. It depends what price he comes in at. He may be 230k. If then, maybe. But again, I would want a bit more clarity on how long Mitchell Moses is out for. For the forwards there, Joe Offahangawi, Brendan Hands, Junior Paolo, they get the starting spot with Jack Williams, Kelma Tuolagi and Jermaine Hopgood rounding out the 13. For the bench, Riley Smith, Matt Dury, Ryan Madison and Charlie Geimer against a bench roll. Look, Charlie Geimer, 230k, I think you would probably be better off starting with Lockie Hubner at a pinch. Hopefully he gets that starting role. I think Charlie Geimer, I'm not sure where his minutes are going to come in, although they are very light on in the front row forward. Possibly he gets a starting spot in there. Riley Smith, hooker. Matt Dury, he is an outside forward, second rower. Ryan Madison, he probably plays through the middle, but Charlie Geimer, again, I'm not sure about his minutes. I think Junior Paulo, Joe Fangawi, Jack Williams, he can move into the front row forward. He played front row forward in the trials. Just with all the changes in this squad, I want to wait and see how this rotation works with the forwards, as with a lot of teams that we're going to talk about today. Jermaine Hopgood, I think he'll be the standard. I think he will 60, 65 minutes a game easy. Charlie Geimer could come on for him. Ryan Madison could come on for him. I'm not sure. Brendan Hands, there was a bit of talk with Brendan Hands. He's quite cheap in the 300k section that he could play the 80 minutes. Riley Smith comes onto the bench role, so he will eat into some of his minutes. I'm not sure what Riley Smith is he'll be on debut, so it'll be interesting to see how many minutes Brendan Hands plays. It'll be interesting to see how many minutes Riley Smith plays. If it's a 40-40 split, it'll be a bit different, but again, I think probably a bit like an old Paddy system. He'll probably play 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, something along those lines. So that's about the minutes I've got for him. That's about it, legends. That's about all we've got time for today. Again, 40-20 Cup. League code for that, 122-155. First prize, $500. Second prize, $250. Third prize is a merch pack. Have to be eligible for that. You have to be following us on Instagram or subscribe to us on YouTube. So that's about it, legends. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking in. We'll catch you later. Ta.